please welcome to the stage LACI President and CEO and Road to 2028 Co-Chair, Matt Petersen.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all this morning. It's LA, so people are still trickling in, of course. Great to have everyone here. How many came to our summit last December? Raise your hand. All right, well, welcome back. Thank you for coming. How many people is your first Road to 2020? All right, I love it. Thank you for showing up. On behalf of LACI, our board members, and our advisory council members, several of whom are in the room, our sponsors and partners, and our friends, thank you for joining us on the Road to 2028. Really, the goal is simple. How do we use the 2028 games as a catalyst for action? Los Angeles is the land of early adopters, where we like to lead the way. Back when I used to work for the mayor of LA, we'd talk a lot about how it was where you're known for fast cars and swimming pools and green lawns, and now we're trying to lead to a different future where we lead on water conservation, where we lead on vehicle electrification, where we lead on clean air and sustainability. And how do we really use the games? The world's coming to Los Angeles. We see some of that with FIFA and the World Cup, but the world is coming to LA in exactly 2 years. This is 2 years to the day before the opening ceremony of the game. Thousands of athletes, millions of spectators and visitors and fans, and of course, untold members of the media will be here with billions tuning in around the globe. So what story do we want to tell? What do we want them to see? What do we want the visitors to experience? We are not just the land of early adopters, we're in California, the leading state in the United States in terms of climate action, policy, and innovation. So, will the world see a region choked with smog or one that's made real progress in advancing clean air, where frontline communities suffer from a disproportionate share of air pollution from a driver of our economy, the goods movement ecosystem? So how do we change that? So when we have those views, that they're the long view of the Tehachapi's with the white-capped mountains. Will we see a region with transportation characterized by gridlock and over-reliance on polluting gas-powered internal combustion engines, or one that's created effective, clean transportation and transit systems that everybody can experience? A region clinging to our past of oil drilling and emissions from pollution, the days when you could barely see across the street 50, 60 years ago. We've made so much progress as a region, yet we have so much further to go. We still have the dirtiest air in the nation on many days of the year. So we need to ask ourselves these questions, and there's no one coming to save us. It's up to us. It's up to us to lead in our communities. It's up to us to lead in our companies. It's up to us to lead and work together, to invite people to join us, to innovate, and to really deploy the solutions that we have coming. And part of the platform we're doing here, obviously we're going to talk about our startup founders, our workforce training graduates, our public and private partners, many of whom are here, who have been on the road to 2028 with us for 8 years or longer. But the platform we're creating through the Road to 2028 is about inspiring and bringing people together to commit to action. So today, tomorrow, you'll hear about over $600 million in commitments to action that we'll announce with our partners. Resources and investment and infrastructure that will be deployed and in the ground by the time the world arrives. And not just to serve the games and the people here during the games, but for decades to come. So building on the momentum we had last December, where $125 million in commitments were made, our goal is to get to $1 billion or more in commitments to action. And how do we inspire things that would have never otherwise happened? And a couple of our commitments will be announced in that spirit. We're going to be releasing a white paper, Going for Gold on the Road to 2028, that'll be released at the conclusion of the summit. TLDR, there's been $11 billion conservatively invested over the last 5 to 6 years in clean energy and transportation electrification in LA County alone. So what comes next is what matters most. How do we continue to lead the way? I'm so proud of our team at LACI. Please give a round of applause for all the incredible staff at LACI and all of our partners who have made this effort possible And we're not doing this alone. We take no credit for these commitments to action. We're just here to provide a platform, except when they're the startup founders or our partners that we're doing the work together, like the DWP Tiger team you'll hear about, or some of our startups that are doing incredible work. But our core of this work behind the scenes that we've been doing is the Transportation Electrification Partnership and the Clean Energy Partnership, where we've set bold targets. And in that white paper, you'll get some updates of how we're doing on our progress to those bold targets. I remember, back when I worked for Mayor Garcetti, who will be here tomorrow, now a former ambassador to India on behalf of the United States, how far we had to go. And we continue to make progress. And tomorrow you'll see Mayor Bass here with C40 Executive Director Mark Watts talking about how cities are leading the way and how much work we have to do and how much work we have accomplished by committing to action. So let's begin. I'm really excited about our opening session, but over the next 2 days and this morning, you'll hear from policymakers, Olympic athletes who are doing extraordinary things as humans and athletes, and so many leaders. But this opening session I'm really excited about, and I'm honored to have on stage with us today my co-chair on the Road to 2028, Russell Westbrook, who is a leader in his community. He's a leader in so many fronts and a new voice to the environmental movement, and someone we're so proud to count as a partner to spread the word, to ensure we remember to invest in our communities, and to inspire people to join us on the road to 2028. So I'm going to invite our moderator, Justin Worland, to come on stage, esteemed senior correspondent. He's done a tremendous job on Climate and Energy Beat for Time, great reporter. He received Covering Climate Now's inaugural Climate Journalist of the Year Award in 2022, and many of you may be familiar with his great coverage, personal coverage he's done since the Altadena and Palisades fire, where his family lost their home in Altadena. Please join me in giving a big round of applause to NBA All-Star entrepreneur Russell Westbrook and Time journalist Justin Worland.
Good morning. Okay, great to be here. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the great introduction. I want to maybe just start to pull on something you said. You laid out the sort of purpose of all of this, thinking about what will visitors see when they come to LA in 28. And then you also talked a bit about how this can be a catalyst and leave a legacy. And so I want to just start. You touched on this, but to ask each of you, what would you like the legacy of the games to be?
I'll start. I think it's. We're talking about it, right? It's. When we did the summit last time, one of the Olympic athletes, Sam Mattis, who you saw a video about a little bit ago before the program started, like, what do you want people to leave LA experiencing? It's like, I want people to come to LA and go, wow, it was so easy and so incredible to get on transit. Or how amazing it is to see charging everywhere. I mean, people think about the Hollywood sign and, what neighborhoods and what food they're going to eat. But, like, what are people going to experience? And we are the land, as I said, of early adopters. And when I used to drive my son to school, we'd be like, we'd play bubblegum. I don't know if you'd be able to play that. There's different versions of it, but we'd see a Prius, like how many, and then we'd hit each, whoever saw the Prius, you'd hit each other on the shoulder, or you'd count them. Then it became Teslas, and so it gets weird, just the land of early adopters and leading the way. So and we're learning the challenges in electrifying transportation. We have startups here. Tia from It's Electric, I see out there. She's figuring out how to make it easier to get charging at the curb. How do we get these solutions in place and inspire other places? City of LA's led on streetlight charging. How to use excess power that exists at streetlights because of the LED upgrades that allow you to have power to then use charger there to plug in and power cars. So you have street level charging where people don't always have access to EV charging if they live in an apartment building. Now, obviously, that's not something people go, oh, wow, I love the light pole EV charging, but how do we really show the little things that make the difference on the road to a zero emissions future? And of course, in frontline communities that we see, instead of heavy duty diesel trucks rumbling through, we see electric trucks driving through that are quieter, that vibrate less, that don't pollute the lungs of the young and the old. So those are some of the things I hope to see.
It's great.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. First and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Truly grateful to be here. So, Matt, thank you again. I appreciate it to be alongside you through this journey. But to your question, I'm from Los Angeles. A lot of you guys don't know. I was lucky enough also to be an Olympian, which I'm grateful for in 2012, which we won a gold medal. So, cheers to that. And then being from LA, I want to be able to leave a legacy, not just obviously on the court, but use that platform to be able to bring business and bring communities together. And being a part of this, there's no better way to be able to do that during the Olympics, and whether it's having clean air, having clean energy, whatever that may be, being able to connect with LACI to be able to bring those communities and business together, to be able to say when people leave here from the Olympics, they've been able to see a different side of LA, and I want to kind of lead the charge of that. And then once the Olympics is done, make sure that our Angelinos feel like we're making a change in the clean space in LA.
Yeah, so I just maybe to follow up on this, obviously you do a lot of work in the community. There's lots of different ways that you can engage in the community. Why this one? Why, environment,
yeah,
clean air, why that focus?
It's interesting, and for the people that are older than me, I always say this, but as I've gotten older, I've been able to learn a little bit more about just our world, what we live in, and more about Los Angeles, and it allowed me to be able to do some research and learn just about our air in LA. I wasn't fully aware of that growing up in the city of Los Angeles, and finding ways how to make sure that my kids, our youth, are connected and have opportunity to have clean air. Just simple as that. The energy, be able to our clean electricity. Every aspect of environmental change to me has become very, very important, and I'm still learning, which is I'm truly grateful for that. And any opportunity I had, and LACI came and invited me to be able to be a co-chair through this journey, and I'm truly grateful for it. So,
well, I know you drove here in an electric car too.
Absolutely, I did.
Yeah.
I did, for sure.
So maybe just let's just talk very, very briefly about some of the specifics, the two sort of threads here, which clean energy and mobility. And maybe just, again, you talked about it a little bit, Matt, but just give us a sense of what that pathway looks like, to 28. And then, Russell, I'd love to just hear from you.
Yeah.
How do you make mobility, clean energy accessible to, the people that, just people in LA who maybe aren't thinking in the same terms as people in this room?
Yeah. So start to the first part of your question, and I think most people in this room, but not everybody out there. I mean, like you were talking about when you were younger, you didn't realize this. Transportation is the largest source of air pollution and climate pollution in LA. And now increasingly, as we clean up the electrical grid, increasingly across the country. Of course, we're seeing hotspots with data centers and use of diesel generators and linear natural gas generators. But here in LA, transportation is the largest source of pollution. So if we can really, and most of the communities that surround the ports of LA and Long Beach, for example, are predominantly black and brown communities where they're under-resourced and they suffer from pollution of the trucks going through their communities on the freeways. And so many people in this room are working to clean that up and to change that. But so if we start there, and we know the LA, like many places around the globe, is getting hotter for longer periods of time. With extreme climate, we're seeing extreme heat, extreme drought, and that was a couple of the conditions that added to making the fires January 7th, 2025 a lot worse. And how do we prepare for that future? How do we lead by example? And LA's doing so many things. Our utilities are doing so much, DWP and Southern California Edison and all the local munis, Clean Power Alliance and so many others. But really, how do we invest in the infrastructure? So we're using the games as a catalyst. We're working with Department of Water and Power and the mayor's office. Okay, there's 9 different areas where we identify, this is not sexy, but this is a big deal, where we're going to remove obstacles, thanks to the work of the Department of Water and Power and the city departments, to get charging infrastructure online and energized before people arrive. How does that help? Well, if you drive you jump in an Uber or a Lyft or a Waymo, that's going to be electric, hopefully. I mean, Waymo's all electric, but Uber and Lyft are increasingly, their drivers are driving electric. They can make more money driving electric through our pilots we're doing, LACI and our startups with cities. We're seeing Uber and Lyft and DoorDash drivers making more money because of the innovations we're seeing in helping them make it easier for the ride an e-bike or an electric car. All these things are going to help clean up the fleets in Los Angeles and make it easier for the future. So it's stuff going on behind the scenes that we hope to use the games as a catalyst to show the world that LA is, not just got cleaner air for the games, but it's a legacy for the future.
Maybe just one quick follow-up. Is it that the money is there now, that the attention is there? What is it about this moment that really allows the catalyst to be a thing?
Well, I think there is. We're still, despite what's going on in Washington, which we won't spend time on, there's plenty of other coverage that will do that for you. LA, California are leading the way. Nothing is stopping. The governor just announced yesterday $320 million in incentives for electric vehicles. Our organization led a campaign in Sacramento to get the legislature to work with the governor to get it in the budget. Huge victory. Deserves a huge round of applause because we know what happened. The removal of all those federal incentives has slowed down the growth of EVs, but nothing. The genie is out of the bottle. And what we do here matters because we're the front lines of the climate crisis, because we are the leaders, early adopters, and how do we work together in a way that no other region really can because of the state policy leadership, because of the entrepreneurs in this state, because of the investment community. So it's the investment, it's the state, it's the city, it's the county, everyone coming together to deploy and remove those obstacles that stand between us and the future.
Great. But so I lost track of my original question to you, which was just about how you talk to people about clean energy, mobility. How do you make that accessible? Yeah, I
think there's a couple of ways, at least for me. I think one way is through my foundation. Why Not Foundation is based here out of Los Angeles, and inside that, my foundation, we have a Westbrook Academy that's also in inner city Los Angeles. And at the academy, we have some STEM programs, which I think allows our students to have access and understand a little bit more about what we're doing here today. But not just that, it allows them to be able to now take that and it gives them job opportunities and creates different pathways that they didn't initially, think they had because they didn't know anything about our air, our energy, our electricity, anything of that nature. So it allows me to be able to use some of my platforms to be able to help get the voice out to some of those young children and the youth in Los Angeles.
Are they excited about that, the opportunity to be part of this green economy, as it were?
I think so. I think anytime I go to have a chance to be able to talk to young people about how we can change the economy for the better, they're always very excited.
Maybe, Matt, we could connect that point with some of the workforce opportunities and challenges, really to do everything that we're talking about requires workers, and I hear it a lot out around the country that people, there's just sometimes a shortage of workers for the skills that are needed. What's the workforce situation? What is the opportunity here, when you're talking about the games as a catalyst for workforce?
Yeah. Well, I think given the future is all about electrifying everything, decarbonizing buildings, decarbonizing transportation. Obviously, trained electricians is a big part of that, and we've been a long supporter of a program called EVITP, which trains electricians on the safety of installing charging infrastructure. But we also need people trained to figure out how to diagnose when there is a problem. Maybe they, of course, need electrical safety training, but they need to know, why is a charger not working? Why is a clean energy system not working? And that's why our team at LACI has partnered with LA Trade Tech, Harbor College, Pasadena College, and other organizations to figure out how we train people for the future. And at the core of these jobs may be more like IT jobs, and so the skills can be translatable into other sectors, but at the core, they're really about making sure a charger works when you get there. And one of our startups, Charger Help, grew out of that, meeting that need. 2 black female founders. There's only 100 black women in America that have raised more than $1 million in capital, and there are 2 of them. We're very proud of that, and they continue to deliver. Yeah. But the workforce is critical. When you came to visit, we had you talk to some workforce training graduates about their stories and what they're doing to help be part of that future.
Yeah, I think it's one that was truly amazing to see up close and personal, but not just that, but the stories of how they got inspired and why and how, to me, is probably the most important thing I gained even from that visit, seeing a lot of people just being able to kind of understand what's happening in our world and now figuring out ways to be able to find a solution. And to me, that's important because it shows me that people are inspired. It shows me that people have a place like LACI to go to have access, to give them an opportunity to be able to do great things. And to me, that was amazing to see. Yeah.
So, I mean, at the beginning, I kind of jumped past this part about, what people experience when they come here. But of course, that's important both for the visitors, also for the athletes who, want to compete with clean air. It makes it's healthier and easier to compete that way. So I guess I just be curious, what does it look like to have a, green games that are smooth, that, where this isn't, where there aren't environmental hazards, where people, as you said, experience, clean transport running smoothly. Like, give us a sense more of what that looks like.
Sure. First of all, disclaimer, LACI and our Road to 20 is, we're not involved in the official delivery of the games. There's an incredible team, obviously, at LA 28 doing that. And I think Becky Dale's here, VP of Sustainability, and really leading in a lot of what they're doing. So I don't want to speak on behalf of LA 28, but we can say that around the games, there's so much to be done. And I know each venue has to tackle its own challenges. Earlier, we heard from one of our startup founders. You heard him pitch, Lee of Dirt. DYRT, as any good startup has. It has a different value than you normally use. But he's got contracts with nearly every venue that it also happens to be an Olympic and Paralympic Games venue in the LA area. What can we do on composting? This facility obviously is one of the leading facilities in the nation and the world on sustainability and what they do here at Intuit Dome. So that's number one. But again, like how you get people to and from the games, the fleet electrification, Metro's obviously a big player in that, and they're looking for, Stephanie Wiggins, the CEO, said, I don't want to have any diesel buses. So if they can make that happen, that will be another piece of how we improve air quality during the games. We're piloting with Metro. Susanna Reyes is here. We're piloting with her to see how we can do innovations from our startups to pilot shading structures, and then because we're not going to get charging installed everywhere we need it before the games. How do we do mobile and temporary charging? So those are the kinds of things that we need to see during the games that obviously aren't just about in the venues or the private fleets that'll move athletes to and from. But end of the day, I'm sure you've experienced this playing outside when it's a hot, dirty air. You may not have realized at the time when you're a kid, but when athletes, you perform at a level 20 times or something like the normal human being. And so how do we make sure that the athletes have air quality that help them perform at the highest levels, but our kids who are playing soccer or baseball or basketball, wherever they are?
I don't know if you have any reflections on that question and that topic.
Yeah, I think just to piggy off what Matt said, I think one of the most important things, and obviously being an athlete myself, is just not being able to not being having to worry about it. I think a lot of times as athletes we kind of go and compete at the highest level, and I think to Matt's point of being able to have all these things in place that's happening at the same time and allows us as athletes and Olympians and to come in and just do what we do best and go out and compete.
It's great. So I don't want to get ahead of all the news that's going to come out today and tomorrow, but maybe you mentioned your goal is to catalyze $1 billion in commitments before 2028. What does that look like? Where does that funding need to go?
Yeah, it's I think I talked briefly. We've seen about $11 billion conservatively that we estimate has been invested across the county in transportation electrification. That's charging, it's battery storage, it's heat pumps, all the things that are going to decarbonize the economy, make it easier for people to breathe clean air. Working with Russell, we're really excited to see how we can call upon the investor community. We had a bunch of investors downstairs for the investor breakfast this morning. How do we get other folks that have capital to allocate those dollars in LA? Because there's a lot of opportunity here. We're the third largest metropolitan economy in the world in LA. What we do here matters. It's not just about Hollywood. It's not just about the early adopters. It's not just about, the Rose Bowl, why people come here, those beautiful Rose Bowl parade shots. But really, how do we invite and encourage people to deploy the capital? So back to your question, there'll be an announcement the county makes about something I've been working on for a while, but it's a significant investment that really deserves its own recognition, investing in putting heat pumps and battery storage into lower-income family homes to help them have better indoor air quality. Indoor air quality is often worse than outdoor air quality in so many neighborhoods and so many homes. So these are the kinds of things we need to see. The federal government's obviously not going to deploy capital here in the next couple years at least. That is aligned with these priorities. I mean, there's still some programs thanks to some courts and judges out there that are moving dollars to LA and California, but it's more anecdotal compared to what it was. So how do we inspire investors? How do we inspire entrepreneurs? How do we inspire community partners? Really excited about one of our great community groups. Tree People is going to have a very exciting announcement that really everybody's going to need to help them get there. So it's not just about, that's tree planting and green infrastructure. It's not just about EVs and charging. But I think, one of the powers of Russell's role here as a co-chair is to inspire people and to encourage investors to join us.
Yeah, I think it's super important, just all things you mentioned, but just quite frankly, the impact and it may have on our future, not just now, but moving forward. I think it's very important to, you have to start from somewhere and be able to take the next leap. And I'm truly grateful to be able to be alongside you, Matt, to be able to do so. And I just encourage the rest of you to do the same because our world, not just in LA, but globally, we need it. We need to understand why. We need to understand how it affects our children and how it affects our youth and things moving forward. So,
do you find, Russell, when you're talking to the people you've been working with on other community work, that you're able to reach them in a way where they might be like, what's this environment stuff? Are you able to now say, like, here's what it is and here's why it matters and get them on board? How does that work?
Definitely. I think it's, and I'm super excited to, sometimes people look at me like, what are you talking about? Because obviously coming from the basketball standpoint, but I get so excited in explaining it and talking to other people, and whether they're my colleagues or other people in this space, because it's so important. Even explaining to my own kids, even, my son is 9, my girls are 7, they may not truly understand it, but allowing them to understand how it can affect them, affect their friends, affect families across the world, and especially, our people that live in the inner city, because I grew up in inner city Los Angeles, and not having the resources and different things, was different for me. So my duty and my job and my position puts me there to be able to explain to our young kids and to people all across the world how important it is.
And let me just ask one more question on this line, because I think it's really interesting and important. Is do you even say environment, climate? What are the words that you use? Like, is it just clean air, health?
I think it's a combination of all those things. I don't think it's one climate. I think to me, it's all under one bucket. But I think the biggest thing for me is to be able to let them know that they have access to learning about it. I think a lot of times I can tell somebody something, but if I don't give them access to find a way to learn about it, to help, they just kind of go on the wayside. And I think for me, it's being able to, one, explain it to them, but then secondly, say, hey, I'm partnering with, LACI to here's an access point to be able to learn more about it. And to me, that's the biggest things in part of those conversations.
And then maybe, Matt, just sort of a similar question, but you're talking about deploying capital, getting people excited about investing in LA. What's the message? Is it economic growth? Is it? I mean, presumably it's not just about clean air. Like, what's the message that you're finding resonates?
Well, I think the most powerful is the lived experience. I mean, backstage you were talking about waiting at a bus stop when you were growing up nearby, and how hot it was, and there was no shade, and then we first met. You talked about like you'd forgotten, like, you'd been driving your EV, and then you had an internal combustion engine. You forgot that you had to fill it up with gas, right?
I did. It was shocking. I forgot.
I mean, now you can speak as an EV advocate, like what the difference is. Like, I don't have to pay for the expensive gas. I don't have to stop. But so I think lived experience is number one, and being able to share that story. I think really the other opportunity here is the proof. Like, you can reduce your energy bills. You can lower your total cost of total TCO, which is a great term to use when you're trying to educate people, but like how much cheaper it is to drive an EV long term. But now with gas prices, it almost pays for itself a lot quicker. Used EV tax credits that the governor announced, that's going to help more people, if you can afford a car, to be able to take advantage of a used EV tax credit, and there'll be cash on the hood to be able to buy that car, and all the charging programs that are going on to make charging available in more and more neighborhoods. That's also critical. But I think the thing to realize is whether we've been talking investors or foundations, and I've been in this space a long time. Some of you and I know some dear old friends in the room that have been in this space for 35 years with me. Like, well, it's LA. Like, it's LA. Okay, well, it is LA. It's the third largest economy in the world. We are the early adopters. It's the largest urban auto market for every OEM outside of China. It is enormously important. We're a cultural leader. We have the games coming. And so what happens in California, what happens here in LA, is not just the best of LA entrepreneurship and leadership, not just the best of California leadership and entrepreneurship. It's the best of American innovation and entrepreneurship and leadership. And that's the story we want to tell and lead by example here with all the investments and commitments to action.
That's great. Well said. Okay, so we have like 90 seconds left. Let's say I'm really inspired by what you just said. What do I do? Like, so for the people in the audience, how can I help? And if you're not somebody in this audience who perhaps is really involved in this stuff, you know, maybe it's just somebody who, you know, follows you, Russell, on social media. What can they do? So what can people do?
Well, definitely follow Russell on social media because he's been promoting our stuff. Thanks for all the spreading the word. You know, you can go to LACI.org, and there's our commitments to action. We had unsolicited commitments to action. Some of them, of course, we encouraged and curated. But we had Lauren Harper, who's been helping lead on this front, had a bunch that we just had no idea. We're like, wow. So our goal when we partnered with Russell was to inspire people to do something, and we're seeing it. So you can do that. You can commit to action. And that might be individually if you're part of an organization making a commitment, part of a business or a public agency. Join us on the road to 2020. It's not just about these 2 days. We're going to be doing more announcements over the coming 12 months, and then we'll have our next summit. But by the time of next year, we hope we'll be well over $1 billion in commitments to action. In terms of changing your life, like, you know, now there's a used EV tax credit in California. If you can afford a car and you're not driving an EV, here's a great opportunity to do that. We have some great options out there, and we're going to do our part. But I think from our core, if you have an idea for a startup, to solve the climate crisis, if you want to be part of the green economy, join our workforce training programs. There's a number of ways here in LA you can be part of it.
I've gotten the wrap-up sign, but I want to just make sure, Russell, if you have like a thought for the people who are following you who might, you know, like a quick thought on that.
No, I mean, to reiterate Matt's said, just continue to support any way you can. Find ways to connect with people and educate people. And if you want to be involved, which I encourage you all and the ones that are listening, to come on board. It's going to be a great journey. Obviously starting with the Olympics, but moving past that as well. So thank you guys.
All right. Well, thank you. It was a great conversation.
Thank you.